In section 1.2, we're going to talk about different kinds of data. So let's start out with, again, some vocabulary terms. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the term population. The term population means when we're looking at an entire group of, whether it's people, things, some kind of entire group. Now, from that entire group, we usually take what's called a sample because it's not feasible to track down everyone in an entire population. There's really only one time we ever track down everybody in an entire population to study them, and that's when we do the census. And the thought is that we're going to track down every single person in the population. The problem with that is it's very, very hard to do. It's generally not feasible and it's super expensive. So usually we try to take a sample, which is a small portion of the population. So this is the kind of picture that I keep in mind below here. Is I keep in mind that the population is kind of our big picture and our sample is kind of our more realistic group that we actually look at. So we use a sample, test the sample to say something about the population. That's the goal when we're doing studies in statistics. So let's take an example here. In a recent survey, 1,000 graduating students from Polk State College were asked if they plan to continue their education. What's the population and what's the sample? Well, it's usually easiest to actually find the sample, which is the group of students that are actually being studied or experimented on. In this case, we're surveying them. So let's see. Well, who are we surveying? What's our sample group? Well, that's the it's easiest to find the sample first. What group are we actually looking at studying or surveying in this case? Well, they only surveyed 200 Polk State College students. So that's our sample. 200 Polk State College students that we surveyed. So what's the population, the big picture? Well, the reason why I had to take a sample of 200 is because it probably wasn't feasible to track down every single Polk State College student. So that is our population, all of our Polk State College students. So all Polk State College students. Now, the only other number that they mention is looking in problem C is they're asking about the value of 21%. Is 21% a parameter or a statistic? Does the 21% describe the sample, the 200 Polk State College students, or does it describe everybody? Well, they found that 21%, and it only referred to the 200 from the sample. Because it only referred to the 200 from the sample, that means S for sample is going to match up with, it means it's going to be a statistic. And that's because, again, the 21% only describes the sample of 200. So that's why we're going to call it a statistic and not a